In many African cultures, scars are seen as a sign of beauty and a symbol of identity. While scars can result from a variety of sources, including accidents and medical procedures, many African women intentionally scar their skin as a way of enhancing their beauty and expressing their cultural identity. Scarring practices vary widely across Africa, but they often involve cutting or burning the skin in intricate patterns. These patterns can be simple or complex, and they may have symbolic meaning. For example, some scars represent specific ethnic or tribal affiliations, while others are believed to enhance fertility or offer protection from disease. One of the most well-known forms of scarring is scarification, which is practiced in many West African cultures. Scarification involves using a sharp instrument, such as a razor or knife, to make small incisions in the skin. The incisions are then rubbed with ash or another abrasive substance, causing the wounds to form raised scars. Scarification patterns can be quite elaborate, and they may cover large areas of the body, such as the face, chest, and arms. Another form of scarring is cicatrization, which involves burning the skin with a heated object such as a stick or stone. The resulting scars can be raised or flat, and they may be arranged in intricate patterns. Cicatrization is practiced in many cultures across Africa, including the Dinka of South Sudan and the Maasai of East Africa. In some cultures, scars are seen as a mark of maturity or initiation into adulthood. For example, among the Yoruba people of Nigeria, girls may receive facial scars as a rite of passage into womanhood. In other cultures, scars are believed to enhance fertility or offer protection from disease. For example, in some parts of Ghana, women may receive breast scars as a way of promoting lactation and preventing breast cancer. While scarring practices have been widely accepted in many African cultures for centuries, they have also been subject to criticism and controversy. Some people argue that scarring is a form of self-harm and that it perpetuates harmful beauty standards. Others point out that scarring practices are often associated with social hierarchies and that they can be used as a way of excluding certain groups from full participation in cultural life. One aspect of scarring practices in African cultures that is not often discussed is the role that gender plays in these practices. While both men and women may scar their skin, there are often gender-specific patterns and expectations around scarring. For example, among the Dinka of South Sudan, men and women both receive facial scars as part of their initiation into adulthood, but the patterns of scarring are different for each gender. Women's scars tend to be more delicate and ornate, while men's scars are more geometric and angular. In some cultures, scarring practices may also be associated with specific professions or social roles. For example, among the Senyafo people of West Africa, hunters may scar their skin as a way of showing their bravery and skill. Among the Bantu people of Southern Africa, warriors may receive facial scars as a mark of their courage in battle. Another aspect of scarring practices is the emotional and psychological significance of scars. While some people may view scars as a form of self-expression and beauty, others may view them as a source of shame or stigma. In some cases, people may feel pressured to scar their skin in order to conform to social norms or expectations, even if they are uncomfortable with the practice. Finally, it's important to note that scarring practices are not unique to Africa. Scarification and other forms of intentional scarring have also been practiced in other parts of the world, including Polynesia, Papua New Guinea, and parts of the Americas. However, the specific meanings and cultural significance of scarring practices can vary widely from one culture to another. One important aspect of scarring practices in African cultures that is not often discussed is the role that colonialism and the slave trade played in the suppression and stigmatization of these practices. During the era of European colonialism, Many African cultural practices, including scarification and other forms of intentional scarring, were seen as primitive or barbaric by European colonizers. In many cases, European colonizers attempted to suppress these practices and force African people to adopt European beauty standards. Similarly, during the transatlantic slave trade, many African people were forcibly taken from their homelands and brought to the Americas as slaves. As a result, many African cultural practices, including scarification and other forms of intentional scarring, were lost or stigmatized within African diasporic communities. For example, among African Americans, scars from the slave trade and other forms of physical abuse have been a source of trauma and shame for many generations. Today, there is a growing movement within African communities to reclaim and celebrate scarification and other forms of intentional scarring as a form of cultural heritage and identity. Some African designers and artists are incorporating scarification patterns into their fashion designs and other creative works, while others are using social media and other platforms to share information and promote awareness about scarification practices. In addition, there are ongoing debates within African communities about the role that scarification practices should play in contemporary society. Some people argue that these practices are an important part of African cultural heritage and should be preserved and celebrated, while others argue that they perpetuate harmful beauty standards and should be discouraged. In conclusion, scarring practices are a rich and complex aspect of African beauty culture. While they are often seen as a sign of identity and beauty, they can also be controversial and subject to critique. By exploring the diverse meanings and cultural contexts of scarring practices, we can gain a deeper appreciation for their significance in African culture and society.